All right, hey everybody, my name's Mark. Welcome back to 2000 Hours of Banjo. Before we get started today, a little bit of housekeeping. My Rode microphones totally bricked on me. I don't know exactly what happened, but I can't get them to fire up or connect to the computer and the app. So I have switched to something else that I happen to have on hand, these DJI mic 2s. Hopefully the audio isn't going to be too bad. These are really new to me. I got them for Christmas and haven't really used them that much. So I don't know how exactly to set them up. So if the audio is really crappy on this video, I'm working on it. Hopefully it'll get better as I move on. Will I go back to the roads? I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how things go. The other little bit of housekeeping that I want to talk about is the number of hours I've been practicing so far. This is 2,000 hours of banjo, and I think for the last several videos I haven't even mentioned how many hours I've or where I'm at. We broke 800 hours. We're at 805 hours, so we're fastly approaching that 1,000 hour mark where I get my new banjo. Still looking at those beautiful, beautiful neckvilles. And we are certainly approaching the halfway mark for the 2,000 hours of banjo. All right, with no further ado, today is going to be a kind of like a progress or an in-depth dive on right hand technique. So if you're not really interested in this, I understand. You can just move on, pass on this video and move on to the next thing. What I'm going to do today is kind to use my professional skills to evaluate what is going on with my right hand. Professionally, I am a forensic scientist, if you haven't heard, which I don't think I've told you. I practice in the field of forensics toxicology in particular. I've been doing it for 2 decades. And what I want to do is I want to approach this as I would approach a case in the field of forensics or just the justice system entirely. And that is to identify if a crime was committed, i.e., was there something wrong with my right hand technique to begin with? If so, what can I do about it? And then lastly, how do I prove that I've found my culprit in this scenario? And we're going to start today with, was a crime committed? Was there actually anything wrong with my right hand technique to begin with? And the reason I ask this because there's so many comments from the last 2 videos about why am I changing my right hand technique? There was nothing wrong with it to begin with. So what the heck am I doing? Why am I inflicting this on myself? Stop listening to the internet experts out there. They're leading me astray. So we will look at this forensically. First, clue number 1, right? Clue number 1 is that I've always struggled with having good tone on my banjo. My instructor will agree with this. We've been dealing with this for about a year, year and a half. Sometimes I have good tone, sometimes I do not. And we haven't really pinned down what's causing it. All we know is that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Clue number 2 is comments. Now, the vast majority of the comments I get on my videos are very supportive and very good. There's a small minority of critical ones out there that are criticizing my playing, however, and they all have the same theme. They all are regarding my right hand. So let me read these to you, and I'll post them up. If I can get some screenshots on them, I'll put them in the bottom of the video so you can see them for yourself. But oh man. It's definitely time for bifocals. Like literally, I can't see my strings. They're all blurry to me. So let me get my glasses out of the way. The first comment I saw, this is months ago, maybe even half a year or more ago. Super great. You are on your way. Left hand perfect. Thank you very much. You're gonna hate yourself 3 years from now when you take on up-temp challenging tunes and realize your right hand not set very good. Check out the masters, JD, Sonny, Earl. I wish you the best. You have paid your beginner dues. Well, I don't think I've paid all my beginner dues because I feel like I'm taking quite a step back with this right hand issue. Second comment actually was from the same commenter. He said, your picks in the video are hitting each string at an angle, and soon there will be a sharp edge developing on the side of each pick. Then a scratching metal sound will annoy your ears. The next comment that I saw about my right hand was from a different poster, and he said, one thing that I think might physically help you is to sort of reorient the angle of your right hand. In this video, and I can't remember what video it was, it looks like your hand is angled towards the bridge and tailpiece with the palm of your hand kind of opening away from the strings. If you bring your wrist over, that will bring your fingers closer to the strings and also get your picks hitting the strings more perpendicularly. I think this will make some stuff easier for you in the long run. And lastly, the last comment I saw was, if I could offer a suggestion that has helped me, I noticed that you focus on your left hand mostly. I would suggest taking some time to focus on your right hand technique. I noticed your index finger has a lot of excess movement happening. I do remember that particular comment, and I do remember the particular video he's referring to. I think it was when I was just kind of like doing all my songs, kind of an update. And that index finger was flailing around quite a bit. So that is clue number 2, right? Clue number 3 is a corroboration of clue number 2. And I've mentioned this before. When I look at my picks, sure enough, the inside curve of the pick was honing down, polished, and getting sharp, while the rest of the pick was almost brand new. There was no wear marks on it at all. And that was because I was dragging the pick across the string before I released it. And that was causing the sharpening of the pick on that edge. Since I've moved to try to pick more perpendicular, I'm starting to see new wear marks right down the middle of the pick, which indicates that I'm hitting more perpendicularly. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. So I have these 2 clues. Now I'm looking for a little bit more corroboration outside of just the finger pick. And I came across this video by Mason Crone, I believe. I'll put a picture of it and I'll put a link below. And I watched this video and I think he's good. I consider him an expert, certainly relative to me. A little side note here, in the field of forensics, all you need to be as an expert is to know more, have the skills, knowledge, and abilities better than a lay individual. In this particular scenario, I am the lay individual. Mason Crone, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. He plays very well, has much better ability, has much more knowledge and skill than I do. So relatively speaking, he is the expert and I am just the lay juror. And so I am listening to him. I go to the internet for everything these days. If I need to pull a drywall anchor out of the wall without damaging the wall, super bad, I'm going to the internet to find that out. If I need to change the clutch pack on one of my motorcycles, I'm going to the internet to find that out. So I know you guys say don't use the internet, don't let the internet experts kind of lead you astray. In this day and age, I kind of go to the internet for everything. So it's going to be hard for me not to listen to folks on the internet, especially if I think they have more experience than I do. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, in this particular video by Mason Crone, and I'll try to find the correct time, I think it's around the 2-minute part, where he's going over mistakes that beginners might make. He covers something that really hit home with this whole issue with the right hand. He says a mistake that he's seen is keeping the finger straight and picking the strings with more straight fingers instead of curling the fingers and picking the strings as if you're scratching a mosquito. Now, certainly I used to keep my fingers very straight, especially my planted fingers. I'd keep them very straight and I would play with very open strings. Last clue is dealing with tone as well, in that I started to notice a pattern of when I lost good tone, and that is when I was trying to pick faster. Now, as I pick faster, in order to try to get good tone, I have to pick harder using the hand position that I've been using. Since I'm riding the string, it's not a very efficient stroke of the finger, And I have to pick very hard and put a lot of effort into the finger in order to get that tone up. The problem with that I'm seeing anyway, is that that causes my fingers to flail, which means it takes more time to get them back on the string, which means I can't play fast with good tone, which means if I'm going to play fast, I have to lessen the amount of power I'm putting on the string in order to increase the speed. So it became this choice. I can either play fast with poor tone, or I could play slower with good tone. And I think that had a lot to do with my right hand position. Also, biomechanically, if this finger is the string and I'm trying to pick it with a straight finger, I can't get a lot of power behind that, especially if I'm dragging it at an angle. But if I curl my fingers and pick it that way, it's very easy to apply a lot more power on the string with a partially curled finger versus a straight finger. So just biomechanically, that video resonated with me and kind of started to make a lot of these issues and clues gel together. I do think that there was a crime here. I do think that my right hand position was not good. Yes, I could play decent music at my current skill level, but I think it would have limited me to get much better than where I am at now. I think it would have hampered me. So this is why I started to embark on trying to figure out what's going on with my right hand and how to improve it. So the next question is, how do I fix it? How do okay, a crime was committed. How do I investigate the crime? What am I going to do to fix this? And a lot of you have said, go to the internet. Go look at J.D. Crowe. Go look at Earl Scruggs. Go look at Tony Trischka. And you'll see that people's right hand technique, even at the highest level, all differ. So there's no right way to play, to position your right hand. I would kind of counter that. I'm not going to disagree with it wholly, but I would argue that there are many correct ways to position your right hand, but there are wrong ways to position that right hand. Now, there is an exception. Some of you guys have pointed out one particular banjo artist by the name of Alan or Andy Mundy, who plays with a hand position very similar to what I was doing, but he could play fast with good tone, and I certainly couldn't. So how he's making that work, I'm not sure. But I'm opting to change my right hand position. And we'll see, you know, if you're following along still, I've established, at least to my sensibilities, that a crime was committed. I'm attempting different positions, looking at the different artists that you guys have mentioned. And you're right, they're all over the place. Like J.D. Crowe has a very wide angle from the forearm, and I'll try to attach pictures as I go along and describe it. He's got a very wide angle between the forearm and the neck of the banjo, and then he cants his wrists fairly severely, actually, in order to get the knuckles lined up with the string to hit perpendicular. Tony Trischka, I think, is actually fairly similar. I saw a picture of him next to a very young Bella Fleck, and they have very similar forearm to neck angles. But Tony Trischka seems to angle his hand down, hand down, where where Bella Fleck tends to keep his wrist fairly straight. So he must be hitting at a bit of an angle, or I guess what you can put a little bit of English on the stroke of your fingers. You don't necessarily have to go straight back. You can kind of curl them to the side as a stroke, and that can compensate if your knuckles are kind of out of alignment with the strings. But so those are two. Pete Wernick, I saw him play in front of Letterman with Earl Scruggs, and I'm blanking on the comedian's name right now. And he kept that banjo so low, it's almost to his thigh. He kept a very wide angle. I'm not going to try that at all. But these are some of the things that I'll play around with. I think I will say this, even though It's been very difficult and frustrating. What I played just at the beginning of this video, I'm impressed with. I think to my ears, it's sounding really good. I can feel it off the pick. It's almost like it's almost like acupressure treatment. Like the way that pick now comes off the string, like I can feel it in my gut almost. Like the way it resonates back into my body just feels good. It feels better. I don't know how else to describe it. Like how the vibrations of the pot, it just it just feels it just feels a whole lot better than scraping it along the side before getting off the string. Anyway, if you stayed this long, here's what I'm gonna say to kind of sum up because I've been going on for a bit now. I do not know if this pursuit is going to gain me ground and improve my skill. I really don't. But as a good scientist, what I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment. And I'm going to experiment and dedicate to trying to get down a new right hand position that's going to get me more of a perpendicular angle, attack angle on the strings, which will hopefully get me better tone off my banjo. I'm going to dedicate a month or two at doing this to try to get it as good as I can get it in that time. And what we'll do is we will do a Pepsi challenge. I will use an old recording of how I was playing with the old hand position, and I will compare it to how I would be playing then 2 months from now with the new position, whichever position I settle on. And then we can see from there, and you can judge for yourself whether that was worth it or not worth it at all. Anyway, take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I've got a whole bunch of practice to get to. The Wernick method banjo or bluegrass camp is right around the corner. It's within a day or two. And I'm nervous as heck because this was just the worst time to try to experiment with a new right hand position right before a bluegrass camp. So if you're going to the camp, I will see you there. Expect me to be tripping over my own strings. And regardless, though, we'll do the best we can and have as much fun as we can. All right, take care, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.